Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We have a very, very special interview today. Our very first interview guest, which is
so exciting.
Very exciting.
So we are very stoked to announce that in this room we are about to have Travis Auld, the new CEO of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, which is just...
For a first guest, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good. Yeah.
We're pretty damn happy with that.
Yeah.
So for anyone that would like to know more about Travis, Amy, before he comes in,
Well,
tell us what can they
Travis
expect?
is a seasoned executive with over 2 decades of experience in Australian rules football. For our international listeners, it's very big here and maybe not so big over in Europe, but
Aussie rules.
Your side of the
Aussie
waters.
rules. And Travis brings a wealth of insights from his, diverse backgrounds, having played pivotal roles at Essendon Football Club, at the Gold Coast Suns, and most recently the senior executive at the AFL.
From his early days in football to his strategic contributions that shaped the AFL landscape, we'll delve into his recent appointment as the CEO of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, gaining valuable perspectives on his vision for 2 of Australia's premier sporting events, the Formula One Grand Prix at Albert Park and the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix at Phillip Island.
We'll just touch on that one a little bit. But
Yeah.
Yeah, so what a resume. And we are very excited to have him in the hot seat.
so welcome, Travis.
Welcome.
You
problem.
are our very first interview.
For this, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I better bugger it up.
No, it's exciting though. We're
Hey, did you enjoy the loom?
Oh, we loved it.
yeah.
Thank you. It
We
was
were hoping
incredible.
to come say hi, but yeah.
You were in
You were in
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah.
You're actually there.
It looked pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. We were like, how are we going to watch a race after this? Unless you're at a race, nothing compares.
The
Yeah.
amount of people that have messaged saying was at a ticketed event, wish I was there. How do I get tickets
Yeah.
as well? I think there's a huge time difference is obviously going to be hard.
That's right.
But I think there's a lot of people that would go to it.
And we just need to build it. It's going to take a little while.
Yeah.
People aren't used to those sort of events.
No,
Oh,
it was good.
It
Incredible.
was amazing.
The only thing that we said that would have been awesome if we could have dressed up. It got there was that
Yeah.
theme.
Like almost glamour on the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because Vegas.
Yep.
yeah.
The glitz and the glamour.
Yeah.
But it was so good. It was so well done.
We all wore sequins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were
Sequin
Jazzed
jackets.
up.
Sweekin.
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 Weekend
Sequin
rocker.
Bit of
pants.
suede sort of
got into
sequin,
the
is it?
Las
Sweekin.
Vegas
Sweekin.
vibes.
New
You might have started something there, I reckon. Around my sweekin.
Sweekin. We'll start off light.
Yes.
Good.
How are we starting off live?
We've got some rapid fire questions.
Righto.
Yep. And Elle, you are going to start off.
Yes, I am. So you have to think quick on your feet. This is a challenge. Favorite circuit besides Melbourne?
Do I have to? It has to be F1. Can't be MotoGP.
Oh.
We didn't even consider F1.
Yeah,
We're
F1.
here for
Yeah.
F1. Yeah.
Well, Monaco. I went to Monaco last year. This year, sorry.
incredible.
Mixed up this year. And
Yeah.
that was incredible.
Yep.
That would have been amazing.
Can't top that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd go with that one as well.
Historically incredible.
Exactly.
Yep.
Favorite driver and favorite team.
Oscar. Oscar's my favourite driver. Clearly because he's from Melbourne.
Bayside boy.
But I did grow up with his parents as well.
Oh,
Personal
lovely.
connection.
Goulburn Valley, and he's from the Goulburn Valley where his parents are. So
I
Yeah.
thought they were Bayside.
they are
No, they
now.
are
But
now.
yeah, he's
Originally.
mum and dad are from a place called Shepparton.
Oh,
Oh, I think
There you go.
really. Oh, I didn't
Love
realise
Shepparton.
that.
We actually met Nicole at the Loom the
There
other
you go.
week, the
Yeah.
Vegas event, and
Fantastic.
she was awesome.
we had such a fangirl moment. We all had a big cuddle, and we were just like, "We love you."
Yeah,
Fantastic.
she was such a good vibe. I was like, yay, someone that's my height.
Like all the drivers are quite short, so you're fine.
Oh, we looked at some of them the other day. Their
Yeah.
heights.
Alex Albon
yeah.
and O'Connor 186.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you were quite tall.
Yeah, same height as us because we're quite tall.
You've gone into the detail there.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah. Oh.
We did a deep dive.
We wanted to know if we could fit in the cars. That was pretty much.
Okay. Well, the answer is yes.
Yes.
clearly.
Yeah, there
It was,
you
it
go.
was
Nice.
good to know. Good to know. Anyway. Continue.
Next question. Day or night race?
A day for us, night for Vegas.
Yep. Okay. Track dependent.
Daniel Ricciardo or Seb Vettel?
Daniel. I love Daniel. He's got an unbelievable personality. He brings so much more
Absolutely.
to the event than
Yeah.
just his driving skills. And personalities make sport, they make entertainment. And so he's the top of the pile for me on that.
Yeah.
Easy to market.
Yeah.
Favorite car manufacturer.
It's a good question. What would I say? I would have said Toyota for a long time when I was at the
Oh, yeah.
AFL. I was
Yeah.
at the AFL for 20
Yeah,
years,
of
and
course.
Toyota was a big sponsor. So
Loyal.
Gotta do it.
I'm very sort of programmed saying Toyota.
Yep.
Yeah.
That doesn't quite fit, does it, for F1? I'd say probably McLaren.
Yeah,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah.
We're
Our
Mc-
favourite too.
We're McLaren
girls over
girls
here.
over here. So
I was actually driving past Zagame the other day, and there was a huge event on at McLaren, like like McLaren, Ferrari. Everyone was just like driving around their supercars. And I was like, "What's going on here?"
Ooh.
well, I
Very
saw
fun.
a Golf the other day, and the number plate was O Piastri. I was like, "You're in a bloody Golf."
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
Doesn't belong in that
I
car.
have a Golf. Golf's
Yeah, no,
fantastic.
but you got Oscar's name on it. Like,
Yeah.
go on, ramp it up. Yep.
Yeah.
Next one, V10 or V12?
This gets spoken about a bit, actually, doesn't it? The traditionalists talk about the days of the V12 and the
Good old
noise and
days.
whatever else. So
Vroom,
yeah, for me, I'm a bit new to the sport, so I'm happy where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes to team principals, Christian Horner or Toto Wolff?
What about Guenther?
Ooh.
I like him.
Yeah.
Guenther? Yeah,
Yeah,
we
Guenther,
we
yeah.
like Guenther as
Guenther's
well.
very good.
Yeah.
I asked him. I met Guenther and asked him,
Nice.
got some advice from him about what we should do, and all he said was, "You got a really good race, a really good event. Don't bugger it up."
Oh,
Sort of extent of his advice. That was it.
glad he likes the
Um,
race.
Yeah.
What I would say is they're big personalities, these guys.
Yeah.
And what you do notice around the paddock is that they have as big a following in some cases as the drivers. It's
Oh, yeah.
incredible. There's
If
sort
not
of
more.
entourage. Yeah, there is. It's unbelievable. And so we're really lucky that we've got not just the drivers that promote, but also these big personalities that exist around the teams.
Mm,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you think Melbourne should be the first race of the season again?
I'd be interested in your views. So there's a view that says it's good to launch
Yeah.
the season. There's a view to say that being a couple of rounds in is a bit better because you sort of ironed out any wrinkles and it starts to build on the first couple of races and you've got a bit of a narrative that's
Yeah,
underway.
absolutely.
So I think that no one seems to really be too passionate about either. We always used to be the first race. We're not now. And people seem to be okay with that. It's not a bad time of year. It fits in with other things. Works
Our
with the
March
Australian
Madness
Open.
here in Melbourne.
It does.
Everything else going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. So I think
Yeah.
it works okay. We have, we'll still have some, we'll be somewhere between race 1 and 3 probably generally. We'll have a few years where we'll open the season. I think that's fine, but I don't think it makes a huge difference for
Yeah.
us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like your point about it. We've had a few races, then we come to Melbourne, so it's like, yeah, all the narratives are kind of to join up and
Something to build.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Rather than having the first race of the season, it's like, oh God, what's going to happen?
Yep.
So
Mm. I guess as well it comes down to like the sustainability side of it as well, and when they decide isn't it's best to be at the beginning or how it fits into the rest of the calendar or where you are in the world.
Yeah,
But-
I'm getting appreciation for this now, so I'm new, but what you can see is they need to create a bit of a flow, obviously, in the calendar
Yeah.
in terms of travel.
Yep.
And I did the AFL fixture for 7 or 8 years, and that was a nightmare. I can't imagine what it'd be like.
Yeah.
That's
I
in one
always
country.
Think about how anyone does a fixture, and
Yeah.
also the F1 in general, just because of the sustainability of where they want to go and everything
Yeah.
like that. It's just madness.
Like, because of the bulk of
Yeah.
equipment that's traveling.
But it's also then you think about the people behind it that they're on 6 days in one time zone, 6 days on another, with the 1 day in between to travel there. Like,
Yeah, it's
nuts.
extraordinary what they do. And
I don't know how
they
they do it.
effectively, as soon as the race is finished, they start packing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get the equipment to the next race. And I think
Yeah.
they sort of tend to run 2 races ahead. So there's almost 2 sets of equipment. And so they're getting ready for 2 weeks in advance. And so this flow thing is really important.
Yeah.
I think people would be absolutely blown away if they could see the pack down at the Melbourne GP track. Well, that's what I
Yeah.
personally experienced, and how quickly
Yep.
it moves out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
And then they turn up at the next circuit and they put it all back up again and do the same thing. And then it's incredible. It's such an
Crazy.
intense thing to work in.
Yeah.
And the time, like laying time zones and all that sort of stuff, they deserve some real credit, those that are behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Gosh,
definitely.
I think the turnaround between Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi, 1 week, such a long distance, a lot of time zones that have being crossed, and everyone was exhausted after Las Vegas.
Well, that's
Crazy.
what they were saying after Daniel Ricciardo's just said that, actually, that he's like, have they not learnt for next year? Because Vegas is smack bang in the middle of a triple header
Yeah.
just before Abu
and
Dhabi.
also
Yeah.
their race time is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
so I
would
was-
have been going to bed
No,
at like
yeah.
5 a.m.
Yeah, so they were saying this, that their sort of body clock's all over the shop because it not only was it a different time zone, but then the times kept moving, and so because of the things out of their control, but there was an incident, and then they pushed back the free practice until I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was hard
Well,
work.
we were saying on watching the broadcast, it reminded us of COVID times because it was just an
Yeah.
empty track for practice.
Yeah.
Even the presenters on Sky News, they sounded dead. They were like, just like, oh my God, I'm so freaking tired.
And because they would feed off atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
And then when there's
Yeah.
nothing, they're just like, oh, gosh.
Martin
Here we
Brundle was
go.
just like walking around the track and he's like, here's another corner. I don't
Yeah.
have anything
Yeah.
else to talk to.
I think what we've all sort of experienced and learnt through COVID is you sort of just no one's as impacted or shocked or rattled by change now. And so they just found their way through it. There was an
Yeah.
incident, and they sort of said, okay, this is what we're going to do. They communicated it, made the changes they needed to. I think that happened 3 or 4 years ago. It would have been sort of chaos.
We're
but
in
it wasn't.
shambles.
Yeah.
Well, you've just come on as the CEO for the Aus GP Corp, which is very exciting. Was it July that you started?
Started in August. So
August.
I've
Yep.
probably come up to my first 100 days.
Oh,
happy
congratulations.
There you go.
Happy
Yeah.
100.
Anniversary.
This
yeah.
might come out on your anniversary.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah,
just need
yeah.
some cheering noise here. So, what have you been up to the last couple of months since you started? What's happening in Travis's world?
Yeah.
In CEO land.
Yeah, so my history has been in sport and entertainment. So I've worked in AFL either at a club or at head office at Docklands there for just over 20 years, so a long time. And so the sport and entertainment part I'm used to. I'm just not used to motorsport. So I'm
Yeah.
completely new to motorsport. I loved F1. I had not much to do with MotoGP at all. And so we just had Phillip Island, which was a big experience for me. But I sort of committed the first 100 days just to get out and meet as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And so having conversations, trying to understand how they experience our event or events, talk to our staff. So I met with every staff member. Obviously got a new board. I've got a new management team, a whole new lot of sponsors and partners, and then the F1 guys and Dorna, who run MotoGP in Spain. And so I've done a couple of trips to meet them, been to a couple of events, spent a lot of time having coffees, meeting with people, and just doing a lot of listening because we've got obviously the Phillip Island's just been, we've got the event in March. And so the idea is sort of come March, I've sort of experienced the 2 events. I've got a good sense of who does what, who our key partners are, and then we can sort of start to work out how we ramp things up.
And within those 100 days, obviously you're coming to the end of the season. How have you found end of the season? How is Vegas?
I've been quite lucky. So 3 or 4, probably 3 weeks in, the F1 have what they call a promoters conference. So they get all the promoters together and spend 3 or 4 days together, and they go through all their marketing plans, what their plans are for next year, the things they're working on. And so within sort of 3 or 4 weeks of being in the role, I got to meet all the other promoters, I got to meet all the key people at head office in London. So that was fantastic. And so I did just come back from Vegas. And the reason I say that is because by the time I got to Vegas, it was good. A lot of the promoters were there, the F1 people were there. So a good chance to catch up with them again. Because essentially we're all different markets and obviously with their own nuances, but you're doing the same thing largely. And so you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so the opportunity to spend some time with them was fantastic. That's not the exciting bit you're talking about, I know.
I mean, that's exciting too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
especially almost not comparing notes, but seeing how someone else runs it and how you run it, and like maybe picking up things of what other people are doing, and then
It's probably interesting as well from a business perspective. Sorry, I also changed my words, by the way. You're just going to have to deal with that on here. I make up words. Of watching like a brand new race with a brand new circuit, which is a street race, which is very similar to what we experience here.
Yeah. And it's also, my understanding is it's the only event that F1 themselves run.
Yes.
So each of the others are run by promoters. And so to see how they go about running an event was really good. There was some teething issues. There is going to be teething issues with any event you launch. This one was quite dramatic early on, but they recovered really well. And they put on an incredible show. And then I think it finished, you guys would have seen it, finished really strongly. It was an unbelievable race.
Oh, it was awesome to
yeah.
watch it. I mean,
Phenomenal race. That was the best race of the season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I also think the
100%.
experience as well that, Aus GP as an organisation could put on at the Loom for fans as well was a great way to feel like that we were also
part of
experiencing
it.
the Vegas, having all the surround screens, and it was nice having that connection to an international race whilst we're here in Melbourne, which I think was a really special thing to do because, we're so isolated here in Melbourne sometimes that we have to get up at 3 a.m. to watch races. The amount of times we've gotten up.
6 p.m. was it?
Yeah,
7
it
p.m.
started at 5
5
p.m.
p.m.
But
5
the
p.m.
amount of times we've gotten up at ungodly hours just to watch.
Yeah, makes it hard for us. And so and in some ways, I think the broadcast spectacle would have been better than actually being there with the overheads down the strip. And so night race clearly,
Look great
the
on
lights,
camera.
It looked so
the
good.
lights of Vegas were unbelievable. There's things that you need to be mindful of that are unique to that particular city, whether it's Vegas or other circuits that just wouldn't work here. So there's parts of Vegas that
Of
don't work
course.
anywhere else. And so when you think about it in that context, there's a bunch of things that we took away that I'd love to think about here. But there's some things that happen in Vegas that only would work in Vegas.
Only
and so
happen in
Yeah.
Vegas.
only happen in Vegas. And so, but they have just built a brand new pit building.
Yep.
And so one of my real areas of interest was to have a look at their new pit building. I think they spent, I don't know, 250 million US or something on this incredible building. And we need to think about what we're doing with ours. We've had it for quite some time, and how do we modernise that? And so there's some good takeaways there. But right from, all the stuff you do when you run these events is the catering and the corporate offering and how they go about integrating that with the paddock and a whole bunch of stuff was really, really interesting. Some great learnings.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
As well, when you stepped in, was there any kind of main organizational challenge that you saw, and like what you might want to do to fix it, or add
question.
to it?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question in the sense of what are you walking into. So if you're sort of, my sense and having now spoken to people is, like all of us, the Grand Prix Corporation went through COVID, and as a major events organisation, suffered as much as anyone because you can't do the one thing that they do. And then they came out of COVID and put an event together in 2022 and scraped through and did an incredible job in those circumstances to put an event together. Then 2023, the thing really took off. The start of this year, there were 440,000 people there. I don't think the organisation was ready for that number of people.
Oh, it was the hottest ticket in town.
Yeah.
It's just-
Yeah.
You had to fight someone.
Yeah,
just to get
that's right.
in.
And so the challenge is to deal with that growth. I think is responding to your question, Amy, where you've got of those 440,000, something like more than 35% of those that was the first time they've been to the event.
Yeah.
And so getting an understanding what their expectations are, they're not sure they've, probably a lot of them have come off the back of Drive to Survive, but a lot of them just, people want to be part of big events. They've got some momentum, and particularly in this city, people love big events. And so their expectation is not going to be about watching every lap of the race. They want to do something else. And so how do we match those expectations and the fanfare? And whether it's you guys or whether it's families or whatever it is you're going for, we've got to make sure there's an offering for you. And we're not the first to do this. I think we look at in this city, the Australian Open does it really well. You go, you might love the tennis and you might watch a few matches. You might not. You might just
go for the vibe.
Grandstand Oval and just go for the vibe, and you know there'll always be something different, and they're always innovating. And so the challenge is that we've got a very, very good event. How do we just take it to that next level?
Yeah.
And part of the challenge is then to say, do you want 444 to become 500? I'm sure you'd love to, but before we do that, we've got to make sure we consolidate a little bit, and that people get really good access to food and beverage, that ingress is good, egress has been tough, getting everyone out, that number of people out has been hard.
Safety as well.
So getting those fundamentals right that our guys like to talk about before we think about growing it much more is sort of our focus now.
Yeah.
And so I just want the thing we really want to do is when you turn up next year is there's some things that are noticeably different. And so that's the sort of what are those things that we need to focus on.
Yeah. Because I guess like the numbers came out recently, 268 million in economic value to Melbourne, which is just
It's a lot of money.
we love that. We love to see
that
that
in the
in our little humble city, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Sydney must
just
be
to
very
see what
sad.
happens. Yeah, I know. Sydney and Adelaide are quivering in their boots right
they
now,
are.
seeing what we can absolutely do. Yeah. And tickets, they just flew off the shelf.
I remember when you used to be able to buy a ticket the day before, and all of a sudden you're begging people and
buy one on the day. I was
Yeah.
trying to buy tickets, and it was like I was trying to buy Taylor Swift tickets.
Oh, that's what it
It
felt
was the
like.
most anxiety-inducing thing I've ever done.
And
I was like,
we've
I
got to
just
be,
want tickets.
we can't take that for granted. That will not
Yeah.
stay like that forever.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep matching people's expectations.
Yeah.
And so if we just keep doing what we did last year, eventually that'll tail off.
It creates some demand and excitement, though,
Exactly.
doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Which I think
Supply and
also,
demand.
happy.
Yeah, and everyone wants to be
Middleman.
part of something that you can't get a ticket to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got
It's
to
kind
keep,
of- It's kind of that you want what you can't have mentality.
Yeah, it is.
Some people might be like, yeah, no, I might not go this year, but then they see it selling out and they're like, wait a minute, I need tickets.
Yeah.
I have to go.
And there's also so many people that just aren't into or follow F1 that also wanted to come and just be part of.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, and they're the ones that particularly we've got to match their expectations. They're coming along, and we've got to make sure they have a really good day.
Yeah.
So that 35%, they come again, and then a new 10, 20, 30% a new next year. And so we just keep building it and building it.
Gosh, they had a good show this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you want to get on? Who's your dream act? Like an entertainment perspective.
Look, I'm the wrong person to ask. The ones that I throw up to my staff, they laugh at me. It's like, that's it's like
All right, come on
20 years ago. It's
now you have to say.
I'm not telling you who I think's cool because I'll lose all respect in this room. But
you never know. You never know. We've got old souls, kind of.
I love the way you assume I've got an old soul.
We've got some bangers.
I'm not saying you are old.
Basically, that was just a really polite way of saying you're quite an old guy.
I'm
Which
just saying
I get that.
I appreciate Gold FM.
I wasn't going to say it was old, but that's fine.
Love that.
So the answer is that so the Friday, Saturday, Sunday largely is close to capacity. Certainly from Sunday back, it's fully sold out Sunday. Saturdays there's some tickets, Friday a few. The Thursday's a bit of an opportunity, and so we've got to work out how we do that. I think entertainment might be part of that, not all of it.
Yeah.
And you can probably put a concert on the Thursday night. I don't know what you might have 10, 12, 15,000 people you can fit in there. If you get the right act, it's about bringing new audiences in. So it's a long way of answering your question is I don't think it's as much about what people of my age might want. I think it's who you want to attract new audiences.
Yeah.
The one thing F1 has, which is the envy of every other sport, is their audiences are getting younger and more female. Most sports, the audiences are certainly male dominated, and we're more female skewed in Melbourne than every other F1. Well, the average of every other F1, I shouldn't say every other, but
That's amazing.
the average, And so,
Go girls.
yeah,
Oh,
and so
great
that again, that won't discontinue. That won't just continue
Yeah.
unless we keep providing the experience that matches that.
Yeah.
And so getting the right act, providing a bit of a experience, that means that you want to come along, but next time bring some friends along with you because you can trust the event. You know it's going to be good. Is part of that whole sort of entertainment sort of concept.
We're loving being part of the F1. Being females.
Yes.
Yeah. On tickets, are there any available for next year?
Can we have them?
Are there 3? No.
The other 3, three really good ones.
Especially for our listeners.
So the Sunday is pretty much sold out, and it's sold out in a couple of hours.
Yep.
Which is quite extraordinary. That is unbelievable. There's a few hospitality spaces that we're still thinking about.
Yep.
Because there's just so much demand, but you want to again make sure you're building things that are befitting of the event and it's got really good track views and all that sort of stuff. And so we're working through all that now because everything's pretty much built from scratch.
Yeah.
There's a huge effort goes into building the infrastructure. Saturday there's a few sort of general admission tickets. Friday there's a few more. Thursday there's quite a lot. Now, Thursday there's no F1 activity, but there's still track activity.
Yeah.
But we're trying to think of other things we can put on Thursday, like a big lunch. People like you might say, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I want to go to that."
Yeah.
So that's the reality of the tickets at the moment. And one of the challenges you have is sort of this making it as accessible as you can, but not putting so many people in there that they all have a pretty average experience.
Yeah. And ticket prices, do they concern you at all?
No. You'd always like to keep things as cheap as you can.
Yeah.
And but if you look at them, if you benchmark them, in this country,
We're pretty good.
We're pretty good. Yeah.
Very low compared to everywhere else, which is amazing.
Yeah, because
That
we're
graph
sort of the
you
equivalent.
see all the countries, and then we're pretty good.
Yeah, well, if you benchmark us internationally, we're very good.
Yeah.
But again, like tickets to the Paddy Club in Vegas were sort of like I think they were
Insane.
10,000 US or
The
something.
$5 million ticket.
Yeah, the 5 million's sort of off the
We
charts.
have
but yeah.
discussed the ticket prices in Vegas a lot, and we want to know who bought that $5 million ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
whether
how-
as is
if
such a
anyone
thing.
did.
But also
Yeah.
how their
Yeah.
experience was with Adele. And then there's also a $200,000 ticket, which didn't include Wi-Fi. It stated that on the ticket does not include Wi-Fi. So I also want to know how they went, if they got their phones connected. It's just...
Yeah, it's sort of so that part I look at Spring Racing Carnival, the Australian Open, look at the AFL, and you want to make sure that because our Sunday is a bit like the grand final, a bit like the Australian Open finals, and so we benchmark quite well against those. We've obviously got scale. We've got 130,000 people there in any one particular day, and so you want to make sure there's some tickets that, yes, if you want to spend a bit more and have a quite a premium experience, you can do that. But if you want to have a GA and that's what you can afford, we want to try and keep that as affordable as we can.
Yeah.
There'll always be views on whether that's too low, too high, but we're certainly very aware of it and mindful of it.
I got to say, though, for anyone like that is listening right now, what you get from a GA ticket is bloody good.
Yeah.
it's very good.
There's so much going on.
Yeah, you've got entertainment on the stage, the amount of things that you can see. You can go down, check out all the supercars, all of that getting ready.
Yeah.
Like, you can really actually be involved.
I think there's something for everyone.
And there's a lot of good viewing points in Melbourne, which is really good. It almost feels like the track gets really filled out compared to a lot of other tracks.
Yeah, and there's so much space.
Yeah.
You've got 5 kilometres of track, and so there's a lot of areas, and so we've sort of focused on 3 or 4 things we really want to make a difference in. One of them is families and having like a compelling experience for families who come along and make sure it's accessible. And there's, for as long as you've got the kids' attention, you've got the parents' attention.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we get a bit better at that. Melbourne Walk, it's where the drivers come through. That's now been stolen by a number of circuits as an idea, and we want to build that up a bit more. And then we've got a precinct called M Lane or Melbourne Lane. And so we think we can do more with that. So there's some things there, the areas, because one of the challenges is you can't, if you spread yourself so thin, no one will really notice the difference. If you pick 2 or 3 things you want to really do well, then people will go along and say, hey, that's better than last year, or remember that, or this is something you need to go and see. So that they're the sort of the areas on top of the fundamentals of making sure people can get in and get out, the wayfinding's right, there's not too many queues for bathrooms, all that sort of stuff. But that's sort of that's BAU.
Yeah.
God, Melbourne Walk is so good. And for anyone listening, that because we have a lot of international listeners actually out there. We even got
Hey guys.
they're all over. They're like,
All over the place.
for anyone that doesn't understand Melbourne Walk, it is the part where the drivers are walking from, they're getting dropped off in the cars and they're walking into the paddock. And it's a real fan experience. And you guys put on a DJ now, and it's like the atmosphere. You're walking and you're like, this is
Yes.
I could
It's
stand here all
very
day.
fun.
Yeah,
Very
and everyone's
fun.
getting things signed. It's really buzzy.
Yeah.
It's, the grid kids are all out there. God,
Yeah.
it's good.
And talking to the some of the drivers, but mainly the team principals, they actually quite enjoy it.
Yeah,
They enjoy that. It's quite controlled for them.
Yeah.
And so they can, but they do, as much as it takes a little while to get through there, they do enjoy it and they love it and they love the atmosphere and they love the way that Victorians and Australians embrace F1.
Yeah.
And so they said, whatever you do, make sure that you keep focusing on that.
Nice.
we're just a happy bunch of bogans. Like at the end of the
We're
day,
we're generally easily pleased, I reckon. I mean,
easily
We
pleased.
really are.
honestly, we could take our shoes off and walk down the street in the sun shining and be like, "Oh, Diet Coke, please! I'm happy."
Yeah.
Like, we're very easily pleased.
Easily amused.
But also, it is a great experience,
Yeah.
regardless of
It's a very
what
fun
is happening. Yeah.
Just quickly, as you were the CEO of the Gold Coast Suns, I'd love to know what it was like stepping into a well-established entity like the Aus GP compared to building the Gold Coast Suns up from inception. Because the Gold Coast Suns started in 2009. You stepped in 2011. Sorry.
Other way around.
Other way around.
That's right. Yeah.
My bad. Other way around.
I started 18 months before
Yeah, you started
the
before it.
club
Yeah.
launched.
Yeah.
And so I'd been at Essendon Football Club for 11 years, as you know.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to head up to the Gold Coast. There wasn't a club at the time. There wasn't a stadium. There wasn't a jumper, a song. Wasn't a team. Wasn't a coach. And so my style is a bit to jump in the deep end. If I'm going to sort of jump in, I'll jump in the deep end. I hadn't been a CEO before, so I thought, bugger it. If I'm going to be a CEO, I'll be a CEO of a new club in a new town and see how I go. And it was the most incredible experience, and it couldn't have been more different than my experience at Essendon. Essendon, big footy club.
Historical.
A lot of history.
Yeah.
The upside is that you have this enormous support. The downside, if you want to change anything, it's like trying to turn the Titanic. The opposite is with a new club, it has no history. You can do whatever you like. The downside is you can do whatever you like. And so what it allowed us to do, and the experience I gained from that, is to build a football club that is relevant for the Gold Coast. So I wasn't grabbing a Richmond or a Collingwood or a Hawthorn and planting it on the Gold Coast. It's like the colours, the name, the sponsors that we brought in, the experience for things like the stadium was completely bespoke for Gold Coast. So as an example, we weren't competing with other football clubs. We were competing with the beach and the theme parks. And so I actually got the beach. So I actually got Disney to come out and train the staff on a Disney experience for the stadium.
Wow.
Because it had to be something compelling, particularly when you're building a club from scratch, because it takes a while before you're going to start winning. And so that experience while it's different everywhere, some of that stuff you can pick up and bring to a role like Formula One.
Yeah.
Because what you're trying to do is create unbelievable experiences and memories for people, and it's got to be relevant for that particular event. And so likewise, some of my AFL experience is good for GP, some of it's not. And the trick is working out which ones are which.
Maybe we need
Trial
our
and
own
error.
Disneyland, the
What's
Melbourne
that?
Grand Prix. You said you wanted to attract families. Maybe we need our own little Disneyland.
Yeah.
Well, they're talking about doing this sort of stuff.
They
We
are,
are,
yeah.
not they.
Wet
We
and-
now.
Wet and wild theme park in the middle of Albert Park Lake.
We've got a lake there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
exactly.
Not sure I want to jump in it, but they got a lake there. And
It'll be fine. We're Aussies. We do anything.
that's right, we're fine.
Can't even talk. Warner Brothers Movie World, but with F1 drivers.
Yeah.
There
you go.
That can be
See?
fun.
Got ideas here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo needs a new title sponsor for next year, so maybe they could be Warner Brothers and it can be all linked into Melbourne. I'm just talking absolute crap
Making
right
up as you
now,
go
but,
here, but it's fine.
You know,
The,
anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
That's the fun thing about it as well. Like, you know, what you can build now as well moving forward. I mean, it's obviously been a very historic time for the Melbourne Grand Prix for the last 15, 20 years plus more. So much has changed. I mean, we were talking earlier about how, you know, you could buy tickets on the day and still come in. So
Yeah.
it's a big challenge, you know, to take it to the next level.
It is, and I think we talked about it before, that I inherited an organisation that is doing a really good job.
Yeah.
So it's not like I've got to spend all this time trying to change things. It's just how do you take it from that to something bigger?
Yeah.
And that's a real privilege to inherit that. And Andrew Westacott was there for quite some time as a CEO and has handed over an organisation that does extraordinary things. So, yeah, that's our next challenge.
Yeah, well, it's exciting.
Very
Like,
exciting.
I mean, Rolex is back on board as well.
Yeah. I mean, they've got unbelievable partners. F1
Yeah.
are sort of in this unbelievable position where it's the thing you want to put your name to globally, and so they've got to make the most of it. They are, and we, as part of the promoters, has to then make sure we leverage off that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Definitely. I know you kind of touched on this before, but how do you think we should be targeting young F1 fans, in particular females, and should we have an F1 academy?
Or should F1 Academy be here in Melbourne?
Or that?
Let me tackle that one first. So the
The big loaded question.
well, I actually met with Susie Wolf when I was in
Oh, nice.
What was she like?
in
You
Europe.
don't have to answer that.
She was lovely, and she incredibly passionate about
Yeah.
F1
You
Academy.
can, you can
I
tell.
can tell
She's-
that. Yeah.
one of the founders of it, and we talked a bit about it. There would definitely be an appetite to bring F1 Academy to Melbourne. The challenge we have at the moment is there is sort of no track time, no spare track time. So supercars are big for us. People who go love the V8s. Interestingly enough, you talk to the F1 guys, they love the V8s. They love the noise of them. They love the fact that they bash and crash each other around, and it's a really good competition. So. And that's, I think that's one of those things that connects us to Melbourne, connects us to Australia, is the supercars. So that's there. And then you've obviously got now F2 and F3.
It's a very full roster.
It is full.
Yeah.
And you got to have provisions for in case there's red flags and all this sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
the ability just to plug in more content is difficult. And so you have to think about how that works. I know that's a bit practical and boring, but that's sort of one of the things you have to work through. If you could work through that, then I think we would certainly be interested in having a conversation about how that looks for us. So I think that answers the second part of your question.
Yep.
The first part of your question is sort of what we were talking about earlier in the sense that there'll be people who want to go and sit in the same stand every year and watch every lap of the race, and we've got to make sure we keep looking after them and put the best event on and experience for them. It's the others that are going, and particularly those that are in GA, and they are more female every year and younger, that we've got to make sure we understand what they do. And I talked about Australian Open before. I think they do a wonderful job of it because I don't know how many people go and don't watch one ball being hit. But
There's a lot of them. If you go to
Yeah.
all on, there's a lot
Quite
of
a
them.
few.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
them. Yeah, and they have a
Just got
wonderful
wine in
time.
the hand and
Yeah, they
Oh,
do.
yeah. I've had some of my best nights of the Aus Open. I've not watched a spot of tennis.
You don't step into the court. And that's that
Yeah.
for me is a wonderful example of what we need to continue to do.
Yeah.
Is that yes, we'll have all the big screens there, and yes, you want them to watch it, and over time become a F1 fan or a bigger F1 fan. But in between, you want to make sure they have a great time. And so that is whether you are, parents with young kids or whether young females who want to go.
Yeah.
And the thing that amazes me is the number of females, young females, who, like I'm talking younger, like my niece who absolutely loves it. I've got cousins, female cousins who love it and want to talk
Love
about it. And they get up and watch it and they know all the drivers. And so this thing has caught on.
Yeah.
We just got to make sure our experience that we put on matches
Yeah.
the changing demographic of the audience.
Yeah, it's almost like just like setting up a little building block and then just kind of
Yeah.
trying to get them to come back and
Yeah.
come back and come back as they sort of.
That's right. And not
grow
forget
up.
about the bottom blocks
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's still the fundamental
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
I
long
know
stays.
from like our perspective, us three females, we started an F1 podcast and we collectively have all been fans of the sport since we were little.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of these females, to the credit of Drive to Survive, have come on in, but we cop a lot of flack
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
men online being like, you're just
Drive to Survive.
fans. And you just want to be like,
Well, actually, no.
and then one
Yeah.
of them got angry at Amy being like, well, name.
It was like name the qualifying session in Canada in 1982. No, 1994. I was like, I was 2.
Yeah.
Don't rub that in.
Yeah.
Sorry. I worked that out. I think I worked out the exact number of how
Yeah.
many qualifying sessions there were
Yeah.
through that entire
Yeah.
from when
from
that
that
date
period.
was.
Yeah.
To now.
It's so tricky because it does sort of put us females off as like,
Yeah.
trying to use our voice to talk about this incredible sport. And then you got these people.
But then I think
online.
there's like the beauty of Drive to Survive is that it has brought on this
it's been
entire
amazing.
new generation of people that are
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never
mad about the
forget that
sport.
clip of, I think it was at the Melbourne GP last year, Lewis being like on they're doing their media interviews prior. He's like, dude, there's so many girls. What the hell?"
Yeah. I remember that.
It's just like, because it was just a sea of females
Yeah.
watching and they're all like, what do we do with this?
Yeah. Not sure what to do here. You'll always get that. You get that in every sport, and people trying to hold their ground and don't want things to change. But what it has allowed the sport to do is invest a lot into innovation and technology and fan experience and broadcast. And so there's things that I'm relatively new to the sport, but if you went back to the 20, 30 years ago, I'm sure the experience wasn't as good. I'm sure the technology wasn't as good. I'm sure the broadcast. So that we went to the F1 broadcast centre in a place called Biggin Hill out of London, and the technology is incredible. The
can imagine.
cameras they put into the suits and the helmets and whatever else, it puts you inside the car.
I always wonder
unbelievable.
that watching the
Wow.
broadcast and you see all the point of views and I'm like, how big is that camera? It's like Spy Kids, you know,
It's
they
like
have the
like your
little
fingernail.
Yeah.
These things because it
Wow.
has to be,
tiny.
so it doesn't sort of
yeah.
create any performance issues.
My head always like, I know it must be like a little like pin that's just sitting there, but I always think of it's like a GoPro stuff.
Big
on
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Like I just,
they've got this
Just
giant
picture
GoPro.
the big.
Yeah.
I'm like, you see someone crash, not the GoPro.
Yeah.
No, well, it's extraordinary what they do, and the innovation that goes on to put you inside the car is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I think that those sort of things you don't get unless you can build the interest of the sport and commercialise it, which they've done well.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, as the MotoGP isn't as big as the Formula One, do you have any, I don't know, have you envisioned ways to elevate the MotoGP like the F1 and like bring in more fans, more sponsors, more money to get it at that same level?
Yep, good question. I think the first thing I'd say is that the MotoGP needs to stay the MotoGP and F1 needs to stay F1.
Yeah.
We shouldn't think of the thing as being the same, and I know you're not saying that.
Yeah.
But the risk for us as one organisation running it is we try and sort of
Blend it.
blend it, and it's not blended. And having just come back from Phillip Island, it's the first time I've been to Phillip Island.
Big year.
Yes, big first initiation.
Yeah.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah,
Big 100 days.
yeah. And the people who go, and there's lots who go, love it. They're there because they want to be there because you've got to jump through a few hoops to get there. It's a little way away.
Yeah.
And a lot of them camp and whatever else. But they have such an incredible time because they actually want to be there.
Yeah.
They want to be there. They want to watch every part of it. And so, and Phillip Island, when you talk to the riders, love that track. Now, it doesn't mean it's not without its challenges, and we've got to think beyond 2026 is when the current contract runs out. So we've got 3 more events, 4, 5 and 6 to go. There's some stuff we need to do. We're going to invest in the circuit and all that sort of stuff. The challenge for us is to bring new audiences to MotoGP.
Yeah.
You can see what Drive Survive has done for F1. We've got to think about how we market the event. We've got to think about how we work with the promoters to do that. I went to the Spanish MotoGP
Oh,
Oh, amazing.
nice.
Yeah.
Catalunya, and it's sort of, I've learnt into sort of the home of MotoGP,
Yeah.
and I think they came first, second, third, or certainly for two of the place getters, and you can see the passion they have and the experience and whatever else. So there's stuff we can do. The one thing we've got to think about is that's a very different audience than F1, and we've got to make sure we play to those strengths. And part of that is the experience and the infrastructure and all that sits around it.
Yeah.
So it's a very real, it's a very live question on our mind.
Yeah.
Is how do we continue to make sure we do that? And you need to divide your energy between both. It helps that one's in October and one's in March. And
Oh gosh, you need that time.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, you guys need that little break organising.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big week and then big months leading up to it and then
That's right.
packed down.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to the Superbikes in March. That was incredible. Oh my gosh, watching those drivers.
Yep.
It's like, what do you mean you're just on a bike going that fast? You just
Yeah.
watch them, you're like, vroom,
Skidding on the ground
It's
as well.
and how
Yeah.
close they get to the ground and the padding on
yeah.
their back.
It's one of those
incredible.
sports, I think, or certainly I've learned that you need to see it live to
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you
The
definitely.
broadcast slows it down a bit and you don't realise just how quick they're going. And then the fact they've got an elbow and a knee on the ground as they
Yeah.
go around the corner.
Blows
At
my
a couple
mind.
hundred kilometres an hour. It's just
Gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I think you could say the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing
like-
for F1 as well. You can watch it on TV, but being there live changes everything.
You feel it when you feel an engine. You feel it
Yeah.
yeah. There's something
in
about
your soul.
And
something
seeing them
about-
go past so quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you know at track these days you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
because you sort of got the screens there and you can watch it live.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea is you've got to provide a better experience on the couch. Otherwise everyone will sit on the couch. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
that's part of our job.
Well,
Nice one.
before we finish up, what is one thing that we can expect next year that you are just like absolutely stoked about for Melbourne?
I want you three to come along Thursday night
Ooh.
Oh,
to whatever concert we're going to have. And it won't be, what did you call me, old before? Won't be an old sort of thing.
Who's it gonna be?
I'm
Who is
never
it
going to
gonna
live.
be?
I'm never going to live that one
We
down,
don't,
am
we
I?
don't know. But it'll be something
every
you three enjoy.
Yeah.
Old souls is what you said there. It'll be something you enjoy that. So that's number one. I want you to come along and tell me whether you enjoy Thursday night.
Done.
And then I want you to come along on the Sunday and have a bit of a walk around. And is the Melbourne walk better than it was last year? Is M Lane a pretty cool place to hang out and spend some time and then watch the races you always will do. So
Okay.
I want to, as I said before, have some things that are noticeably different and better
Yep.
than what we had before rather than just a bit of the sort of same with some tinkering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Does that answer your question?
We'll be there.
Yep.
I think we
Bells
want
and whistles.
bells
on.
and whistles.
Whistles.
We'll
Yeah.
be the people at the gate on like Wednesday night, just camping,
Waiting.
Like, can we go in yet?
12 hours.
Hello.
Counting down, staying at the hotel across
Yeah.
the road.
Absolutely.
Absolute psychos that we will be.
That's what we need. We need more of you.
Yeah.
Do you
There's
really
plenty.
want more of me?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I don't know if you do.
Yeah.
I think other people would disagree with that one. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
No, it's been great to have you on and just, to chat a little bit more about the business side of things of Melbourne Grand Prix and exciting welcome you into the F1 family now
Nice.
from
Yeah.
Love it. We'll do this again. We'll do it
Yeah.
post-event.
Yeah,
so you can give me a bit
definitely.
of a post-event
Hear
sort
your
of
analysis.
debrief and tell us
First
how it
100
went.
days, the next 100 days.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
set
can
me
come
back
on
up
every
for the
100
following.
days if you want.
We can do it as often as you want.
100 day anniversary.
Yeah.
Give us an update of
Yeah,
what's
there you
going
go.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
Be
there
like
you
my
go.
second board. I'll just
Yeah.
come report to you every
Oh,
sort of
look.
100 days.
What have
Bounce
you
some
done?
ideas off us.
Yeah, that's it.
The amount of episodes that we've done since we've started this podcast and we come up with ideas and we're like, we wonder if the Aus GP would like that. And we're like, we hope they're not listening. They would hate us right now.
Send them through.
When Ella was like, they should do 2 back-to-back Aus GPs, like one week in Melbourne, then the other week in Melbourne. I was like, they will hate us.
Yeah.
They are busy enough. They don't want that.
They've got a mass walkout.
In my mind, I
Literally.
was like, you could do first weekend, you have the sprint and F1 Academy. Second weekend, you have F2 and the main race.
I was like, the
Makes
Aus
sense.
GP
I'm
people
pitching it
pulling
now.
their hair out. Like, we can't do that.
Else
no.
has gone 0 to 100.
Yeah. All right. We better let you get out of here
Yes.
before I
Yeah.
chew
Thank you.
your-
Thanks for having us and thanks for your
Yeah, no,
interest.
thank you.
It's sort of
Thank
it's
you,
people
Trav.
like you that drive sport and it's people like you that actually drive new audiences. So we really appreciate it and thank you.
Awesome.
No, we're loving
Love
it.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Trav.
Lovely chatting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.